Hello.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you.
Um,
Uh,
I
hello,
cannot
Marco.
hear. Oh, now I can hear you.
Hello,
Hello.
Marco. Hello, Shivam. Nice to see you here. And I would like to welcome everybody to this, let's say, quick webinar where we're going to be presenting the reports of the ecosystem of digital and urban mobility. And since we are a little bit pressured with time, we're going to start straight away. So whoever will come later will get the chance to watch the recording after we'll be posting it on our web. Uh, let me quickly jump to the agenda. So it's my pleasure here to already see in the room with us Marco Felipe, which will be presenting one of the success stories that is going to be presented today at the start. He is alumni together with Shivam. They are both alumni of our programs, which gives us, let's say, a very pleasureful view on the ecosystem that we were able to co-work with some of the companies that actually made it out and managed to do some impact. So we'll start in a few minutes or in about a minute with Marco Filippi presenting the success story of Volvero. And then we'll follow on with Shivam presenting the success story of Getboarded. I know that Marco's very pressured with time, so I'm gonna just now give you the floor and you can introduce yourself a little bit and gives us a little bit of a background about Volvero, and then we'll go to Shivam. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jan, for the introduction. Thank you also for inviting me to this event. Can you hear me loud and clear? Can you confirm?
Yes, indeed, I can.
Okay, perfect. I cannot shout because I am right now at a public event, so I should try to control the limit of my voice, which for an Italian is always very difficult. But yeah, as promised, I'm going to share with the participants um, what is Volvero and how the support of BGI and the EAT urban mobility really shaped our success. I prepared 10 presentation slides or so people will get less bored while I speak. I am allowed to share the screen.
Yes, indeed.
And can you see my screen, by the way?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so guys, hello everyone. It's Marco Filippi here, CEO and founder at Volvero. And yeah, one of the first great achievement I want to share is that we even made it on Shark Tank. And this was, of course, one of the greatest, the biggest advantages and successes we reached out after the acceleration program. But let's make a step back. So let's talk about Volvero. You just arrive to your final tourist destination. Probably the first thing you want to do after your travel is to get on a car and to explore the surrounding areas. So maybe you needed to get a car from a car rental agency. And my question for you is, indeed, how was your last car rental experience? Most of the time, people hate car rental services for a set of different reasons, very unclear terms and conditions, prices, and also a very shitty user experience in general. When I'm in the room, I ask people to raise their hand if they are happy with the car rental, and there is always one crazy person, but there are usually 99 person in the room that literally do not like the service. So you made the problem now. You understand why we needed to do something, and indeed, like what we wanted to do was to create an application for the mobile phones through which we connect private owners of cars with people that want to rent cars directly from private owners. So who is a private owner? You can be a private owner, for instance. Everybody in the community can rent out their car. So it's kind of Airbnb model, but for the mobility and transportation industry. And of course, it's also a story of impact. We are reducing the usage of natural resources wasted to produce more vehicles. And also, it's a story of social inclusion because we allow people that do not own vehicles to get access to one whenever they need. We are not only selling to our private owners, as said, and thanks to indeed the activities we did through the acceleration programs, the BGI and the support of the EAT Urban Mobility, we managed to find new niches and new customers. Like, for instance, we start playing with car rentals that are indeed using our technology to digitize their business model and get access to a new set of potential customers. Corporates that then use our technology, our platform to share their fleets when not in use for their own main purpose. And finally, I said, private owners, that's the big innovation that we brought into the market. And something more we did, thanks to the support of BGI, the financial support from the EAT Urban Mobility, was to invest a lot into two things. Mostly the insurance development, because you will understand how key is to have a valid insurance proposition for both drivers and car owners in our service. So we used this relevant budget that we raised through the EAT Urban Mobility for this aspect. And of course, we are a deep tech startup, so we use data, we use technology for reducing risks for users. And this is something that we successfully managed during the months of the acceleration program, because like we were really able to focus on the proper technology, on the proper value proposition for our customers, and test and validate more what we were doing. A key aspect of the success of our venture that is right now available in Italy, but we are even piloting it in other countries, and hopefully sooner or later we will be able to be fully live in Portugal as well, is the creation of a solid team. In with regards to our specific case, we do have three team members, part of the founding team. That's me, the first one, CEO and founder, experience in finance, while the two other co-founders, technical people, Emre from Turkey, experience in software development, and Kayode taking care of the operation. So this was another key aspect, putting together a solid founding team. And consider that now the company is 6 years old, and these three guys you see here are working together for the last 4.5 years. So we literally first build a family, and thereafter we built a successful business. Just as like final slide, who invested into this venture as per today, as I already said, the EAT, Urban Mobility, and even the Climate Kick, and even some accelerators, BGI in particular, really supported with business development, business intelligence activities. So if we are here today telling our success story, is also because like the support we have received so far. And yeah, as promised, this would have been short and sweet. This was the last slide. Thank you for your attention. I am Marco Filippi, CEO and founder at Volvero. I don't know if we have room for questions, but like if so, I will still be here for a couple of minutes.
Unfortunately, there is not any planned Q&A, but Marco, thank you very much for sharing your story and your journey. We're very glad that you were part of a program that BGI ran, and hopefully we can overlap our initiatives a little bit in the future as well, maybe helping you with going to the Portuguese market. But as of now, thank you for spending the time with us. To be honest, you were a hook to attract people to see a success story, which was apparently successful, as we have a forum of people interested in what you shared with us. And thank you for spending the time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you. And Shivam, now the floor is yours, I think. Ciao, Shivam. It has been a while.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
always,
So,
the hardest part is to follow up with this particular success story. So, but I'll try my best.
So right now we're gonna switch to Shivam, the CEO of Get Boarded. He's also one of our participants and alumni of programs that we run in BGI, and he is here representing more, let's say, digital framework. Marco was representing more of the urban mobility framework, but as we see, the digital technologies are implemented in all of the solutions around us, so everything is connected. Shivam, I'm gonna leave the floor to you now, and you can share your story with us.
Yep. I also, do you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I
And
also prepared about 3 or 10 slides, and I will see you guys here. Okay, let's move it here. So, I thought because I'm invited to talk about my success story, I was thinking about, okay, what in my success story can be, useful for, uh, for, for this particular cohort as well. And if I may, I would like to also ask a few questions just to understand, some things in the part of the presentation. I'm the founder of Get Boarded, as being introduced, and it's an organizational design and development platform which essentially does talent planning. And when we do talent planning, it's more about talent fitment into their roles. So we plan, measure, and we increase the talent value of any ecosystem, which is like an organization or a community or a university. And how can we improve the lives of people in a professional manner? And I thought, okay, let us talk a little bit about us, but in the sense of how we attained product market fit and what were the key learnings that I had or the breadth that I was able to take, which I will explain in a while. In numbers, we were able to attain like about more than 200,000 ARR for about 3 consecutive years before the market completely changed. And we had a remote culture ourselves, and that's what we were deploying into our organization and clients as well. We have serviced about 30 plus clients in different countries, and out of these 30, three of the clients were already multi-billion dollar companies, which was a good achievement. At a point, we were 20 plus people working from 10 different countries, but geopolitical changes happened. I think ours was the first cohort that BGI had in a completely virtual manner because of Corona and all. So a lot has happened since we did our induction with BGI. And what I wanted to talk about is, while I talk about our own success or our own, startup, I wanted to talk about, how startups generally are. So, startup is also like creating a living and breathing environment where one breath is basically about one, divergent and convergent method. So, just do a raise of hand or whatever emoji you can throw if you know about the divergent convergent method. If not, basically it's something which is a common piece, like you expand a problem or a statement, and then this is the area in which the detail stay, and then you converge it back to a solution. So when we talk about like product market fit, the expansion of what the product does and what the market wants is kind of a two-way mechanism of double covered convergent methods. Has everybody how many of you have heard of product market fit? I think that is the most common fitment that you are asked about. You can open your mics. I don't see you, but you can share your thoughts if you want to. Otherwise, assume everybody has. Okay. I think I have to do a monologue here. Um, but how many other fitments do you know of? Like when we talk about product market fit, I thought that we had achieved it because we were a learning experience platform which was working in a pre-GPT era, right? But when AI came, when GPT came, it gave a mechanism of people to learn by discussing things with AI. This never existed before, right? So from a LXP, our whole model of learning, which was about learning by watching, learning by reading, or giving away different challenges, it all changed. And suddenly the topmost modality of learning became learning with AI. So we had to do a complete pivot for which we, raised funds, and our product market fit basically completely crashed on the market space. The market behavior changed. So that is also what I wanted to, give back to you today as what we worked with and how it works for you. Like any particular startup has a lot of breaths to take. A breath is like, you get revenues, then you do something, and then you expend that revenue in order to move to the next level. So there are about 10 fitment levels or about 20 breaths that you need to take at each of these pieces to solve a particular problem. And for that, you need to do a lot of tests. Like, the first piece that we are solving is if there is a customer with this problem, then we need to find a problem solution fit that can we solve it. Then the area comes, can we make money by selling the solution? Can we repeatedly, consistently, and profitably sell the solution? And then can we scale it operationally? So in that, our problem was, to understand and solve talent planning because it has already been, difficult in terms of dynamic landscape, digital first employees and remote cultures. With BGI, we were able to do the problem solution fitment because we were an idea stage startup at that. We developed a product with the capital that we received, and then we entered into the market through the support or the mentorship that was also provided at that stage. Like, very proud to say that our first clients came from the mentorship program of BGI, and that was our first, big multinational corporate that we were able to track. It was a direct mentor that just gave us a break in order to implement that solution. So now how we did it was, and then as I mentioned about the product market fit, failing at one particular point, we need to do some of these breaths more than once. We need to go, we need to pivot, we need to understand. And we created a trust scale in order to create this diagnose, discuss, and demonstrate piece. So keep on diagnosing, qualifying your prospect, keep on, building trust with those prospects, and only after you have done these two pieces, demonstrate the solution or the results that we can promise. So what we did was we heard a lot of pieces, and these are, just two more slides left because this is something that was the most important learning of mine that we are doing even now. We identified multiple problems, identified, drafted them, and we did this kind of a mechanism on top of it. Like, understand if the problem is a pure problem. And I'm giving you only a customer, side of stage because there is a lot of things that can be covered, but in 10 minutes, I can just give you this as a value. You can do this test for everything that you get as a feedback. Is it painful? Is it urgent? Is it recognized? And is it expensive? Because if either of them is not true, then probably a sale will not happen, or probably it is not in a pure enough problem that could, help you scale. And as you know, all our startups, we cannot afford mistakes. And that is probably my last slide as well. This is a framework that I wanted to give you and also thank, EIT Digital that helped us into understanding what the whole sequence was, what those stages were. And, the acceleration program was also about, okay, identifying which stage you are at and then taking you to the next, small iteration of it through testings. So I think I have kept my time. Is it, Jan? Yeah.
Indeed, you're right on time. In this case, we have a little bit time left, so if there's any questions for Shivam, feel free to ask. If not, we then can continue with the presentation of the results of the Urban, the digital reports.
Yeah, or I can just conclude with this. If you want, this whole piece of framework, I can pass it to you. You can just connect me with LinkedIn and just I would love to hear of what you guys are and what are your particular stages. I wanted to ask this on call, but there is so many people and so less time, so I did not interact. But I hope there are many people who are nearing the product market fit, and if not, then best of luck to get that sooner.
I suppose that there are no questions from the audience. So, Shivam, thank you for sharing your story and a couple of insights on how this could be applied with different projects as well. And as I said with Marco, hopefully we'll meet each other again within a different project framework, and you'll be able to share your story again.
For sure. Thank you for inviting. Lovely to be here.
And to continue, unfortunately, maybe this is going to be a little more boring, but hopefully same enriching experience. I'm going to present the results and insights that we get from the ecosystem reports. Let me just quickly share my screen. And that should be working. All right. So just to conclude the rest of the agenda, firstly, I'm going to introduce the context of how BGI is delivering the report, and then I'm going to present the results. Just some of the results of the reports for digital and urban mobility. Here I'm going to share this slide at the end of the presentation as well, but you can see both of the reports. You can scan the QR code, and that will link you directly to the possible download of the PDF, which I highly encourage, because the thing I'll say here is just a small percentage of what we were able to cover within the reports. Firstly, it's important to say that we are analyzing a startup ecosystem for both digital and urban mobility verticals. And for this, we had to define what startups actually mean. There's not really a clear definition that we could have used. So our own definition for the purposes of the report is that the legal entity must be incorporated in Portugal, meaning that we're trying to analyze only Portuguese ecosystem, and so all the companies must originate from Portugal, and it should be emerging ventures, meaning the incorporation should happen in the past 5 years or younger, since that's in our eyes the timeline where it's the most fruitful to analyze the startup performance. As for the verticals, also the company that we are going to analyze in terms of the definition within the digital startup ecosystem must fall within one of these 4 categories, which is information and communication technologies, clean tech and industry 4.0, consumer web, and medtech and health IT. We've managed, most of the companies that were provided to us, we've managed to separate in between these 4 categories, and if not, we had to exclude them from the report. In terms of the methodology, firstly, I want to say that all of the report is done without using AI, which we take as an advantage to our side, as this gives us, let's say, the availability to provide as much value and as much insight and with as much control over the data and over the results. And to describe it a little bit more, we are taking basically 4 main aspects, converting them to Z-scores, and then comparing them within the ecosystem. The 4 aspects are value of sales and services provided. This basically represents the revenues from sales and services provided. If there is an accountant in the audience, he may argue that it's not the exact same thing. We acknowledge that it's not. We are trying to basically mark the market performance of each team, and this should be reflected within this number. Then adjusted EBITDA margin. This is something pretty commonly used. It basically describes what percentage of revenue turns into operating profit. The only, let's say, a little bit of a confusing one here could be the adjusted. That means that we've crossed out all of the revenue elements that are not reoccurring and occurred just once throughout the lifetime of the startup. So we get the, let's say, consistent performance. The next element is job creation. That speaks for itself. Basically, how many jobs was the startup able to generate? And last is solvency, which implies the ability to meet the long-term financial obligations. Based on these 4, we have developed we have assigned a weighted, let's say, value to each of these 4 categories, and then we ordered the startup based on the best and the worst. Let me jump to next slide. So I'm going to be starting with the digital ecosystem report, and in this report, we've managed to analyze 310 companies, which I think it's pretty impressive in terms of the availability of the data. Just to put you in the context, the startup data is very difficult to obtain, and our partner InformaDB is providing us with the data source, and we are cleaning it based on the criteria that I've just mentioned before. So we ended up with 310 companies, and if I could already describe how many companies are active in each vertical, we see that the ICT is the most active vertical with 52% of startups, and that's directly followed by consumer and web with 21.9%. These two are the highest, most likely because it's, let's say, a little bit easier market to penetrate than the medtech and clean tech verticals. But if we take a look on the next graph, you can see on the right hand side of the slide the average revenue per company. We see that even though ICT had the biggest representation when we divided based on how much revenue did company generate, we see that consumer and web is leading this category, and next up is clean tech and industry 4.0. So in terms of productivity of the individual companies, we see that consumer and web and clean tech are leading these categories. In terms of the regional distribution, we can see that on these two not so colorful but very nice graphs, that upon the map on Lisbon, 32% of the startups are upon the map of Portugal, 32% of the startups are based in Lisbon, and 52% of market traction is based in Lisbon, which only underlines the importance of Lisbon in the innovation ecosystem, and let's say the networking value and the market traction there is the highest among all of the others that are listed in the report. In terms of the revenue, you can see on the right hand side again. As I mentioned, Lisbon is leading this category, but right behind is Porto with 16% of startup created and 11% of market traction. Again, these are compared to the other regions, pretty high countries, pretty high numbers. So if you would like to start a company or startup, we recommend to do it in Lisbon or Porto, as that is the chances of success the highest. In terms of the digital economy influence, we see that the overall generated gross value added for the startups in digital sphere is 51.6 million, which is pretty impressive. Let's say part of value added for the startups, and maybe even more impressive number here is the 58% growth of compound annual growth rate. This may be a little bit overestimated within our eyes, based on the fact that we're analyzing throughout the years 2021 to 2024. So the first years were still affected by the influence of COVID a little bit, and that gives the floor to growth much easier and much better for the upcoming years, meaning that the 56% is reflected there accordingly. In terms of the top 5 startups overall, here is the list that we've identified as the top performing startup within the 310 identified companies. And there is much more detailed description of their performance within the report itself. I'm not going to disclose it here, as I want to leave a little bit of a cliffhanger and an incentive for you to download the report. But you can get in the report top five performers in each of the verticals they identified, and also an overview for the top 25 teams that we have analyzed. In terms of the international impact, again, we see compound annual growth rate of 88%. That's a very impressive number. This is, again, most likely caused by the fact that in 2001 and 2002, the effects of COVID were still a little bit restrictive in terms of exports, and that give us a potential to grow and increase the compound annual growth rate within the last years. But nevertheless, total export of 47 million euros is still impressive international impact within the Portuguese ecosystem. On the graph here, you see the total value export annually per company. So the number it's not 47 million, it's divided per company. But we see that even if we do this division, we see that the overall exports are growing, meaning the international ecosystem is benefiting from what startups and what value does Portugal produce. In terms of urban mobility, that's the second report I want to disclose you the results a little bit. It's framed upon upon the same methodology, meaning we again use the same methodology I outlined at the start. The difference here is that we have identified the different categories. You can see here the 7 listed categories that we've analyzed are mobility and energy, sustainable city logistics, future mobility, mobility for all, digital solution for mobility, urban infrastructures, and pollution reduction. It was a little bit unfortunate that we have decided to work with so many categories, as the amount of startups is not as high as it was in the digital sector. Nevertheless, we've managed to identify for almost all of these categories at least some company that could give us a little bit of a reflection on how this category is performing. In terms of the urban distribution, we see that across Portugal, there is again Lisbon with 25% of the startups and 33% of the market traction. That again highlights the importance of Lisbon within the innovation ecosystem, not only for digital, but also for the urban mobility companies. And second up, surprisingly, it's not Porto, but it's Coimbra. So in terms of urban mobility, there's another 25% of startups created and 23% of the market traction, meaning that the urban mobility sectors and support within these two cities are most prominent. Nevertheless, for Porto and Aveiro, they follow right up. So the ecosystem there is almost at the equal level. You can see in the picture below the number of companies by innovative area. So we see that in terms of the sustainable city logistics and digital solutions for mobility, the dark blue and the dark green, that's the sector that represents the most companies. And the follow sectors are the pollution reduction and mobility and energy. And the least represented sector with 9.1% is the future of mobility. For the revenues by innovative area, to give you a little bit of an insight on how the innovative areas are actually performing within the market, we see that the future mobility has the biggest impact, delivering almost 1.4 million euros in gross value added. And in total revenue accumulated. And the second up is sustainable city logistics with a contribution of 1.24 million euros. This again underlines the importance of these two identified categories, but overall the performance within all of the categories that we managed to find data for is still impressive, as you can see in the graph shown below. For the top 5, I'm going to give you a little bit of a more overview, showing a little bit of a data after this slide, but you can see the top 5 are listed here. And if you would like to see a little more information about how they perform, you can download the report. To take a close look here already, to differentiate a little bit from what I said in the digital, we see that the biggest impact is from Orion and right follow up by Batch Logistics. We see that within the startup ecosystem, this impact is pretty prominent compared to the rest of the companies. So it's common that few, let's say, successful players are able to move with the market the most. And in terms of the gender representation, we see that it's not gender balanced in terms of 86% of the company members being male and 13% being female. This case, unfortunately, is happening across all the reports we've done, even in the past, meaning that the, let's say, male dominance in the startup ecosystem, not only in the urban mobility, seems the most prominent since we started the reporting in 2018. But we are pleased to see that the percentage is slowly increasing. So the trend of women and let's say starting their startups and being part of this innovative ecosystem is increasing. For the international impact, which is one of the last numbers I want to mention here, we see the compound annual growth rate of 20% for experts overall, which now reflects a little bit better reality as we are reporting only since 2022. But again, this graph below shown represents the total value of exports annually per company, meaning total exports to European Union and outside of European Union. And we see that per company, it's roughly 150,000 euros, which is again impressive in terms of the international impact. Inside the report, you can find more details with exports focusing or being divided between the categories of export to European Union and export outside of the European Union, which can give you a little bit of more idea where the traction is actually happening. But in terms of the overall growth, we are here seeing the report or the compound annual growth rate of 20%. This was everything I wanted to share within, let's say, this brief time period I have. And I would like to leave you here with the two reports you can download and have a closer look on each of the reports yourself. There is much more data. There is much more reasoning, let's say, behind the data and even explanation on what do the data reflect. So I encourage everyone to download the report. And we are also going to be uploading this recording of this webinar up to our YouTube channel, so you can watch it there if there would be anything you would like to hear and see again, including the Volvero and Get Boarded success story. I would like to thank you all for joining us here today, and I'm open for any questions if there is anything you'd like to ask or anything you would like to know more regarding the report's methodology or the numbers.
Hello.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you were listening to me or not. I'm Rita.
Yes, I can hear. Hello, nice to meet you, Rita.
Hi, nice to meet you, Jan. I'm from BCAP, and I just finished my classes at university, and I saw that I had a mail from BGI saying about this webinar. I was a little bit late, 15 minutes late, but I was very happy to be here and to know about these reports. And so thanks a lot for congratulations for your work. And I think they are very useful. In fact, I was just wondering if you are thinking about having any meeting with the companies, some of the companies that would be involved. I'm speaking for more the urban mobility companies, and would love to see and maybe discuss this in more detail after having a detailed look on the reports.
Of course, I would gladly have a one-on-one meeting with you and go over any either digital or your mobility. I'm gonna leave my contact information here in the chat so you can then reach out and we can have a discussion which could cover anything that you would be interested in. But thank you for showing up here and showing the interest. We're always glad that we can share the information we are able to find with someone who will be interested. So let me just share my contact here and we can then get in touch and connect.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Can you send the report by mail, because I'm now watching the report in my mobile. So or is it in the website of BGI already?
It's on the website, and
Okay. So,
but
okay.
I'm going to gladly send it by email as well. So I can see your email within the registered participants, so I can then send it to so you can download it directly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. Anyone else would like to share their thoughts or ask any questions? I see. In this case, if there are no further questions, I encourage you one more time, please take a look at the report, download it, and see. And if there will be anything you would need more clarification on, feel free to reach out to us. We're always open to answer any questions regarding the data or the methodology. And thank you today for sharing your time with us and taking a look at the two success stories and the alumni of BGI, and a brief overview of the reports within the digital and urban mobility sector. This will be now the end of this webinar, so we end it a little bit earlier than expected, but I hope nobody feels that he's sad that he's to go home a little bit earlier. It was a pleasure to having you here, and I look forward to share with you anything that you would be like to ask within the report or within the BGI programs as they are mentioned on our website.